Hello, and thank you for joining me again today for our very second live promo broadcast on all sorts of different social media platforms and YouTube as well. So thank you for joining me. Today is Geezers of Gear episode number 232. At least it's the promo for 232, which will launch next week on Thursday, March 28th. And today's podcast is brought to you by a new sponsor, Ultimate Support Systems. For over 45 years, Ultimate Support Systems has provided musicians with unique support solutions that are crafted with unparalleled innovation and quality. Ultimate Support has always been determined to invent, design, and manufacture the smartest support solutions and music accessories in the music industry. And that commitment to innovation continues to this day. Be sure to visit ultimatesupport.com where you can learn all about their solutions for content creators, touring musicians, recording studios, and more. From acoustic treatment to best-in-class speaker stands, Ultimate Support has premium accessories you can count on. And I will add that my new microphone boom arm right here is brought to you by Ultimate Support Systems, by far the best microphone boom arm I have had for my podcast. This episode is also brought to you today by GearSource. GearSource was founded in 2002 with a mission to help global live events businesses move gear around the planet. Since that time, the company has transacted in more than 100 countries and has sold $250 million in sound, lighting, staging, and video gear. GearSource recently completely evolved its platform for massive global growth, enabling 14 different localized currencies, payments held in escrow to protect buyers and sellers, AI-powered logistics behind a new global logistics brand, GearMoves, and so much more. Visit gearsource.com today and expand your access to global markets for your gear and global gear for your markets. Yes. So episode number 232. But first, back to talking about ProLights. So this week, ProLights and Sound is going on in Frankfurt, Germany. Certainly one of the best shows in the past. It's questionable as to whether or not it'll be the best show in the future because it seems to be shrinking quickly. Sadly, because it used to be probably the biggest sound, lighting, video, staging show in the world. It used to be partnered with Music Messe. It used to be massive, 9 or 10 halls, I think. And it just seems to be shrinking. So we'll see what happens to the future of ProLights. Maybe I'll get somebody on from that show and they can tell me what they're doing, what they're planning, etc. So if anyone knows anyone who's involved in the planning and organization of ProLights, please have them contact producer@geezersofgear.com, and Sarah will get us set up for a chat and we can talk about what's going on with the show, what you're doing to protect the future of the show, how it's going to grow, etc. So at that show, lots and lots of new products have been announced. We talked about a few of them yesterday, but also I was reading about the Avo D7. Avo Lights, of course, recently purchased by Robe, and that is ramping up not only their product development, but their manufacturing capabilities as well. And I think we're going to see a lot of really great things coming out of Avo. It's going to take them some time and effort and energy and people and talent and everything else to catch up to MA on the top end of the market. But I think that middle and lower end of the market, even the top end, but I think the middle and lower end, certainly MA, have not expanded to a point where you've completely blocked competitors. And that's allowed really great companies like Obsidian and others, Camsys, and certainly Avolites, who is kind of the originator of the rock and roll lighting desk. So we'll see where it goes. Obviously, their D9 is their flagship console. Their big, call it the Grand MA of the Avo line. It's been making some noise, but I would say it hasn't taken over the market by any stretch. We'll see what happens again under the Ryobi banner. It's a much more powerful console than it used to be, just from a standpoint of world, global distribution, global strength, resources, etc. But now they introduced the D7, which I saw in a social media post somewhere. Someone commented that the D7 is a D9 that you can check as baggage. And so it's a very good point. It's basically a mini-me of the D9, which call it the MA3 Micro or whatever, similar to that console, I guess. But I expect to see big things from that. Maybe a D7 will give them more of an intro into the large scale market, the bigger end of the market, and we'll see. Again, maybe if someone from Avo, I used to talk with Steve Warren all the time, but I don't know anyone else at Avo. If anyone wants to come on and talk about, the roadmap, where it's going, how the brand has changed, how the company's changed, feel free, again, reach out to producer@geezosofgear.com. And one of my favorite brands, I have a bunch, but this is one of them, Ayrton. And so I am afraid to even pronounce the name of this new product, but Kyalami. And so it looks like a magic dot. It seems to act a lot like a magic dot, but it has a laser light source in it, and it's IP65. They're calling this part of an extreme miniaturization line of product. And supposedly it does a lot of really cool stuff. Lots of effects packed into a very, very small package with a really bright and intense light source, which is a laser. And so that's exciting. Seeing Ayrton miniaturize a laser sourced fixture is really exciting. I think that's a sign of great things to come, not only from Ayrton, but other manufacturers as well. I know a lot of people are playing with lasers right now, and we'll see where that goes. And of course, if the US would ever get our shit together and get the laser lighting fixtures out of the hands of the Food and Drug Administration from a standpoint of it just doesn't make any sense. What do they know about laser lighting and its impact on your eyes and stuff like that? Like, otherwise, they'd get rid of Sharpies and a lot of other beam effects that are probably much more dangerous than some of these lasers. So anyways, we'll see where that goes. I know a lot of companies are certainly lobbying for changes, but we'll see where that goes. Also from Ayrton is a Nando wash, and neat name. I don't know much about it. I cannot tell you what differentiates the Nando wash from all of the other LED wash lights that Ayrton has come out with recently. And maybe I'll talk to Ayrton about that and get more information, but I don't really know what differentiates this one other than it's IP65, but they've got other IP65 LED wash lights. So we'll see. We'll have to come back to that one. Looks cool. And lots and lots of IP rated stuff. One that was a little confusing, GLP announced a bunch of fixtures that have IP in the name, but I couldn't see any IP in the specs. So I would assume that IP in the name, like there was a bunch of them, and there's an impression something or other IP, and just a bunch of GLP fixtures that have IP in the name. And so I assumed that that's an IP range. They're weatherproof, but it didn't list that in the specs, or at least from the posts that I was able to see. So moving on to episode number 232, Thomas, and I'm not sure if he pronounces it Kubik or Kubik, but Thomas Kubik, I'm going to call him. And so today's guest was introduced to me by Sarah, our producer, who, I don't know if people know this, but Sarah used to tour. And that was sort of how I got introduced to Sarah to begin with. She was touring, I think, mostly in hospitality and catering. And Sarah met this gentleman, Thomas, on tour where he was working with In Flames, and it was a Five Finger Death Punch and In Flames tour. In Flames is a very heavy metal band, and so they met, hit it off, got to be friends or whatever. And Sarah thought, hey, he'd be a great guest. But it's funny because Sarah thought he was the manager for In Flames because he did so many different jobs with them, as you'll hear in his bio coming up here in a second. And lo and behold, finds out he's the sound engineer. So Thomas started his career 28 years ago, took the classic course from stagehand to behind the console and touring. He has been touring since 1999 with Euro and metal bands, including In Flames, Nevermore, Arch Enemy, Fear Factory, Angra, Lacuna Coil, Moonspell, Chimera, and Willie Nelson's Luck Reunion in Austin. One of those just doesn't fit in, does it? Thomas has been extremely lucky to travel to pretty much every continent. Thomas has been with In Flames for 25 years in June as their sound engineer and tour manager, or in Thomas's words, the babysitter. Thomas loves coffee, wine, and champagne, and generally good food. We'll be finding out a lot more about Thomas's career, talking gear, what he's been up to recently, and what he has in store for this year. So please welcome Thomas Kubik. And for those of you who are viewing this live, I'll see you next week.